Well, as Celtic drop points to Hibs this afternoon and Hearts make it a win that puts them 2 points clear at the top of the table, as Bradley Walsh famously says, the chase is on. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Full time at Celtic Park this afternoon. Celtic 0, Hibs 0. Another frustrating day for Celtic and what's been a pretty frustrating start to the season. We're becoming sort of 0-0 masterminds at the minute. We are the masters of the 0-0 specialists, if you like. And it's getting annoying. It's getting frustrating. I think it was a very weird one today because it's the type of 0-0 that typically I would leave Celtic Park going. And to be perfectly honest with you, this is the way that I left Celtic Park this afternoon. But like any other year, I'd go, do you know what? Tough day, played well enough. You get these games, especially against the likes of Hibs, who are a good team. But I think for fans, it will just be more frustrating because of the kind of era that we're in at the minute and because of what's going on, because we haven't been that great. So it makes it easy to kind of hyperinflate it, to make it more significant than it actually feels. If we were flying, if we were winning every week and we drew 0-0 today, I don't think anybody would bat an eyelid, to be quite honest, especially because we did play quite well. But sadly, we're not winning. And obviously that does raise concern, and you need to talk about what went wrong, and you do need to obviously have an honest conversation about what needs to change moving forward. But I'm not going to sit here and put on a performance for you and pretend that I'm pissed off and that I'm absolutely raging. Look, listen, these games are difficult against Hibs, especially the current Hibs, who are unbeaten in their own right. Granted, a very different type of unbeaten than Celtic. They've drawn more games than they've won, but they finished third last season. We know they're very good at the minute under David Gray. It was always going to be a tough game today, and on any other Saturday afternoon, Celtic probably should have scored 3 or 4. You know, and that's, listen, if this was another 0-0 where we couldn't create, it was another 0-0 where we were just passing the ball backwards and sideways and not doing anything, yeah, I'd probably be on here fuming. I probably would be. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't at all. It was a 0-0 where Celtic were dominant. They were creating chances. We were just lacking that final third presence to actually score the goals. We were lacking a real killer instinct up front. We didn't have that, and Iheanacho came close a couple of times. He of course did put the ball in the back of the net and it was offside. Just one of those days where nothing would go in. And I think as the game went on, it just became more difficult for Celtic. I think we were really exposed as the game went on in terms of our attacking quality and depth. I think that was exposed as the game went on, which doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the manager, doesn't help the team. So listen, on another day, we'd probably win that. And we don't. So obviously the same concerns are still there, but it's not a game that makes me worry about our chances of winning the league. I'm not going to sit here and pretend because Hearts are now 2 points clear that that's it. Game's gone. Job's done. Hearts are going to go on and win the title this year. No, I think I've seen enough positives out of that game to know that we're heading in the right direction. We just really need to start scoring goals soon because the 0-0s can't go on forever. So let's go back to the start as we usually would. We'll start with the starting 11 because Brendan Rodgers did make changes to today's team. Changes that I was quite glad to see, actually. Tony Ralston came back in for Donovan. Maybe the only change I wasn't all that happy with. I wanted to see Donovan given another chance to keep this run of form going. But aside from that, you know, seeing the midfield go through change, seeing Sriracha in the starting 11, I was quite happy. And especially the midfield. But I think that, you know, first half we played well, and I'll come to that in a minute. I think the thing with the midfield is today they were fine. I was happy with Engels, McGregor and McCowan, but I wasn't blown away, and I didn't see any performances that suggested to me, that's it, they're in the team now. And it kind of backs up the point of like, right, we might be complaining about McGregor, Hatate and Negren as a free at the minute, but are any other combinations of players actually doing anything to stand out and suggest they're wildly better? We're not really seeing that. I thought, for what it's worth, I thought McCowan was really positive looking today. I liked the way he drove forward with the ball. I thought he looked like he was trying to make things happen. But nobody had like an over the top or overly outstanding game. And that kind of just raises the same issues about we are struggling in that middle of the park. We are struggling in that area just to really get something going that's emphatic, that's brilliant. We've just not got that this season. But I was happy to see the changes. I was happy to see that. First half, I mean, listen, it's a pretty boring match reaction, in fairness. We battered Hibs. We were all over them. In the first half, even throughout this 12-minute silence that some fans had worked themselves into a shoot about, we were all over them. We smothered them. Hibs went out there with their 5 or 3 at the back, however they want to set it up, and we were going forward, we were making chances, we just weren't taking them. And that was a story that expanded over both the first and second half. But in the first half especially, like shooting into the end that I sit in, we had no issues creating today. And that's been obviously one of the main criticisms about Celtic so far this season, is that creativity hasn't been there, and we haven't been, excited. We haven't been on the edge of our seat. I was on the edge of my seat a good few times in that first half today. There's just nobody there to finish the dinner. Iheanacho came close on a couple of occasions, and we were trying to make things happen, but it was really just end product that was lacking. In the first half, that was evident as well. It just wasn't there for his Tenecki, for his forward thinking as he is, for as much drive as it was in his game, for as much he would take the man on. He would then send in a cross that would go over everybody, and it would end up out the field. Daisen Maeda, same thing. He'd do something, cross, useless. And then Iheanacho, when something would fall to him, it would be saved, it would go wide, it would go over, whatever. Like, it just wasn't falling for us in regards to the final product. And that was missing in the first half and the second half today. But it wasn't like we were struggling, and I don't think there should be a narrative created that Celtic were struggling to make chances today, because we weren't. I think one of my main criticisms about Celtic's performance today, and it's something we really need to sort, and we need to fix it, it's just not working, right? The crossing has been poor. And if we had better crossing ability in our team, or if we worked on that somehow, we'd probably score so many more goals. But if football was a beat the first man contest, Celtic are finishing rock bottom of the table. And if it was a hit the first man contest, we're the world champions. 67 all over again, ladies and gents, because we just can't beat the first man. It's getting bad. It's getting infuriating. Like, I'm fed up of watching Anthony Ralston cross a ball, hits the first man. Daisen Maeda cross the ball, hits the first man. I'm just sick of it. And that happened over the first and second half. Why are we so feared to put some height on it? I guess when we did put height on it, it was through Tenecki and it would go over everybody. But that can't be something that a top-level club early in the Scottish Premiership, the winners of the league every fucking year, can't be failing to have a good crossing in their team. It's getting infuriating. And that's holding us back from creating more chances as well. I get that Celtic are a team that like to play with the football on the ground. And we should be playing the football on the ground. We are not at a point in Scottish football where we should be hitting long balls or relying on aerial ability or physicality. Like, we should be scoring footballs and playing football on the ground. But sometimes, put some height in your crosses, man. It can't be hard. It really cannot be hard. And I thought that was one of the things that was really lacking from the team across both halves today. But yeah, we were still creating, just couldn't score. And basically everything I've said about the first half, it extended into the second half. It wasn't like much change. Celtic were once again the dominant force. Celtic were the side that were looking like scoring. I mean, here are some of the match stats for you. 26 goals. I wish it was 26 goals. 26 shots, but only 6 of them on target, compared to Hibs' 4 shots and 1 on target. And the 1 on target was a P-roller that didn't even bother Kasper Schmeichel, essentially. So, and with 77% possession. Like, we forced 6 saves out of the Hibs keeper, out of Salinger today. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the positives are there. There is certainly improvement. It's kind of building on the improvement for what I seen against Kilmarnock last week. But we are just missing that ruthlessness right now. We're just missing that killer instinct. And as the game went on, all hope of that killer instinct, or that guy that was going to be the goal scorer, disappeared, because we just don't have it in the team right now. And I think that's the main narrative of this match reaction for me. Listen, I don't want to make every match reaction this season about Celtic's failings in the transfer window. I don't. But that is a heavy topic of conversation about how we're not equipped to go and win these games late on, when we have teams in the ropes. And listen, Hibs, as the game went on, got more and more content with settling for a point. That made life more difficult in itself. They got tighter and tighter, and we had to deal with that. And I thought we dealt with it pretty well, to be fair. Once again, we were still making chances. But when you're finishing the game with a front three of James Forrest, Johnny Kenny and Michelangelo Balikwisha, who's still to find something in a Celtic jersey, yeah, life's not easy. And listen, I love James Forrest, the most decorated Celtic player of all time. And I'm not putting it on him. But at this stage of his career, we should not be seeing James Forrest as much as we're seeing James Forrest. And I know folk love him, but we should not be seeing him play as much football as we are. He is past it. And the fact that we are relying on him, is concerning. Although it does worry me that, you've got the likes of Yang sitting there, and it's just that, listen, battle of two evils, really. Do you bring Forrest on? Do you bring Yang on? One's a significantly better football player, but one's got more energy and got more drive to maybe try and win you a game. It's hard. It's not an easy decision, I think, for the manager to make. But listen, should that be the case for Celtic? No, we shouldn't be considering bringing on Yang or Forrest. We should be bringing on better players. And that's not me saying that Forrest isn't a good player, but at this stage of his career, he should be coming on in games where 4-0 up and getting a wee commemorative run out, essentially. And I mean that with all due respect to him, but he's played his part at Celtic. He's done his hard work. He's at the stage of his career. He's entering the last year of his deal. He should be relaxing. As I said, he should be getting run-outs in 5-0 games. And Johnny Kenny, I want it to work badly for the boy, but you can't hang your hat on him. You can't seriously expect him to be the player to come on and win you a game. He's just not there. He's not at that level. Johnny Kenny shouldn't be a Celtic player right now. He probably should have got a loan move elsewhere in that window. But because of the failings, we couldn't allow that to happen because we've not got the required quality across the board. So these are the players that you're bringing on in the hopes to win you games. And it's just not it for Celtic at the minute. It's not helping us in the slightest. And I think you can only use that as an excuse so far. At the end of the day, we should still be winning our home games. I think a draw is a poor result. I'm not going to shy away from that. But it certainly doesn't help when you've just not got the right players coming on the park for you. Nobody clinical. Nobody that's a proven goal scorer. Iheanacho goes off. Johnny Kenny comes on. The two of them hardly have sparkling records these last few years, and that's not me blaming any of the two of them, because as I said, wanted to work for Kenny, very impressive what I've seen of Iheanacho so far, but if you're wanting to win a game and 0-0 in a tight gridlock type game with Hibs, it's just not the subs you want to be making, and that will be worrying as the season goes on, 100%, and we'll probably talk about it a few times. I think that Celtic have been quite reliant on teams wearing themselves out, trying to defend against us and holding on, kind of like what happened at Kilmarnock, and that's not going to work every week at the minute, and that's a wee bit problematic. Especially because Hibs are a very high intensity side, but they have quality in there to make it work and last over 90 minutes. You're not going to get a Kelly or a Livingston every week who might hold out and hold out and hold out and then fall. You're going to come up against the Hibses and the Hearts of the world that are able to sustain it over 90 minutes. So but that's something that needs to be thought about. Substitutions need to be smarter. And chances just need to be taken, man. Chances need to be taken. Defensively, though, by the way, once again, quality. Dealt with everything that came our way. Scales and Vickers are bossing it at the minute, and I have no concerns about his defensively. We're arguably looking at one of the best Celtic sides I've ever seen. From a defensive standpoint, no quarrels with what we're doing defensively. But at the other end of the pitch, it's a bit dire, and we need ruthlessness that is just not there right now, and that will be a concern for people. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I feel like there's so much more I need to cover and should cover that I haven't even touched on today. But these raw match reactions are meant to be quite off the cuff and done in the moment. So we'll go in a bit more depth tomorrow. Check me out then. Let me know your thoughts and comments, and I'll pick up on them tomorrow as well. Until then, take care of yourself. Enjoy your Saturday night despite the weather. And don't worry too much. Don't worry too much.